Hello, Princess. I guess that's just my intro now. I am behind on when I normally do videos because the week I normally would have done it, I got sick, and then the week after that I was on vacation, but I was still sick from the previous week. A good seven. That's a whole week. I was sick for about a week and a half, so I had basically like 3 days left of vacation where I could have done the video, but then I realized, I'm on this trend where I'm always 2 weeks behind on when I was doing them anyway. So I was like, well, I could do it next week, but then I realized then I would be doing the video 3 weeks late into the month, and I was like, then there's just another week of April left. So at that point, why not just wait a week and do like 2 months in one? So the plan right now is to do 2 months worth of bullshit I've been watching in one video. Although, you know, I don't know how to shut the fuck up. So potentially, uh, typically, towards the end of my videos, I start to lose my fucking voice, and then I'm like, well, it's time to fucking stop, I guess. So realistically, I'm gonna go until I lose my voice, and then if there's still things that I didn't finish talking about, I will just talk about it in the next one, and that's fine, I think, because at the end of the day, who gives a shit? There's no rules, nothing matters. It's fine. So I just scrolled back to the last time I did a video. I ended it off with talking about may I ask for one final thing? Which, what did I give that? Oh yeah, it was a 6, but I kept talking about how at least episode 1 was like a 6. I loved like an 11 or some bullshit. But let's go to, what am I on, March? Yeah, what I watched in March and then what I watched in April, right? So the first thing that I watched was a movie called Vampire Hunter D. The D stands for penis. This is a movie I've been aware about for a real long time. I remember hearing about this movie in high school, back when I was a really, really big fan of the Game Grumps. And I remember the one guy kept talking about how much he loved this movie. And, it's one of the best anime movies ever. And I was like, I'll be the judge of that. And then I never went and watched it. I remember hearing him say, like, it's impossible to find unless you, like, it's only on YouTube. And then, I remember, uh, searching it up like right after that and like finding it instantly. But I'm a little more allegedly anime piracy savvy than this random old man on a YouTube Let's Play show 10 years ago. And then when I watched it, it was available, not free, but it's available on streaming on High Dive, which I have. So I just watched it on there, but it's only on YouTube. Anyway, my score for this one is 4. This was not like truly dogshit awful, but man was I bored. I watched this one in bed, and I take a sleep aid, so I was also like passing out. So maybe you're gonna be like, it's not fair to judge it. You were not in your right mind. You weren't sober. You're a liar. But like, I feel like even if I didn't have the sleep aid, it would have made me fall asleep. It was so fucking dreadfully boring. It's called Vampire Hunter D. By the end of the fucking movie, you come to find that, did you know the D stands for Dracula? He's Dracula. And he's actually, now he's a vampire hunter. What a twist. No one's ever fucking done that before. And then some lady is like, hey, help us defeat the, like, giga vampire in our town that's, like, trolling us. So he's like, okay. He's the least interesting character ever because he's like, he's Dracula, so he's immortal, he's ageless. He's seen so much that the world is, boring. Ugh. And it is boring. So yeah, it's not like the worst thing ever. It was just boring. It's old, so it looks old. So I don't. Not that everything that's old looks like shit, but this kind of showed its age. But yeah, I want to say, like, you could be fair and like I'll rewatch it like actually awake and maybe I would like it more. But like in my mind, I don't want to do that even a little bit, so I'm not going to do that. Moving on, the next thing I watched was Shaman King Flowers. Now, Shaman King Flowers is the sequel series to Shaman King. And Shaman King was, it's something I've been a fan of since I was a little wee baby boy. And I remember when I was a kid, there was just the 4Kids anime, which 4Kids would, they would dub the shows and then they would like change the script. But 4Kids, and I assume Shaman King was like actively like being written as a manga back then because sorry, my beard, I thought there was a stain. I got to do some cosmetic work instead of talking about Shaman King. They because the 4Kids anime just like at a certain point was like fuck whatever Shaman King's about because now it's about this, and then they just made up a bunch of anime original bullshit, which was way more common back then, but now they don't really do that. Anyway, then they made in 2019 at some point they made Shaman King. They remade it, and then they made like a faithful version of the anime to the manga. And I watched that and it was fine. I think I talked about it in my first video, if I'm right. I might be wrong. It might have been in my second one. Whatever. It's all the same bullshit. This is the sequel series. This is the Boruto Naruto Next Generations of Shaman King. Although I think this one existed first, where the main kid from Shaman King is now a grown man, and this is about his son. And they do, excuse me, I lose my voice 2 minutes into the video, and I'm like, alright, it's over. What's the kid's name? His name is Hana, which means flower in Japanese, so that's why it's called Shaman King Flowers. We figured it out. And Hana is a little piece of shit dickling. He sucks. I hate him. And every character that meets him in verse is like, you fucking suck. No one likes you. And he is a bratty little fucker. It's kind of the same thing where, they write it so that the parents aren't around, and the kid's like, I hate my life. Fuck my chunkiest life. Where's my dad? And, there's less of a reason for it in this show. Like in Boruto, it's at least like, hey kid, your dad's like ninja president, he's busy. Even though that's a whole other can of worms about how that's not well written. But Shaman King, it's just like his mom and dad left. Yeah, they're busy, they're gone. You're gonna get raised by this random lady and the chef at the restaurant you live at. So Shaman King, it's like, oh, there's these shamans, they wield ghosts to fight, they all meet up for the shaman fight. Whoever wins the shaman fight gets to be God. And then, and then Shaman King Flowers, it's been a month, so fuck if I remember. I even read the manga for this one, so, I love when I've experienced the media twice and I just don't remember it at all. But to be fair, it's just okay. I gave it a 6 because it's like watchable. Maybe I should have given it a 5, to be honest, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, they're just like, you have to do a second version of the shaman fight, but not really. It's like all the gods of previous shaman fights are like, the new Shaman King god sucks and we want him out, so we're like utilizing this clause that means we can all like make our own teams and they have to fight, and whoever wins this second version of the shaman fight gets to pick a new god, gets to be god again. I don't know. It's the sequel, but it just kind of ends unceremoniously. While, like, at some point, the main kid, what's the lore? Sorry, let me go into my goddamn mind palace. Okay, so his parents are the main kid from Shaman King, who's a shaman, can wield ghosts, and then the mother, Anna, is a Mako. She's like a priestess. And she also could wield like Shikigami, but also her backstory is that when she gets super pissed, demons would come out. So she uses that power to like implant a super demon inside of Hana, so that when he gets like near death, he just turns into a demon. And when it happens at first, it's like, oh, that's kind of an interesting gimmick, like the inner demon from like whatever, Naruto, Bleach, Yu Yu Hakusho, JJK, all that shit has it, and it's like, okay, but his is just like a mindless monster. And then once it's revealed, they just do it every episode, and it's like, well, there's kind of no stakes if it's just like, oh, I'm in trouble, demon mode. It's like, okay, well, because when he goes demon mode, he like literally, the dialogue turns into like what I thought was awesome when I was like 11, and I'm like, die, 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 I hate all of you, Edge, ow, Addo the Edgehog. But then he like dies for real in Minecraft and goes to hell, and then is in hell, and he meets like a Japanese war pilot who, this is one thing that's kind of cool, is that the author, I think their name's Hiroi Takei. I might have got that wrong. I didn't look it up beforehand. Had a series, like a one-shot manga called like Death Gunner, and it was about a guy in a fighter jet that was like a living skeleton guy that like was immortal, and he was like lived to fight in fighter jets. And that character is in hell with Hana, except he's like not a skull guy, he's a real guy. And they like meet up, and then there's a handful of episodes about them hanging out together, because in the beginning of the show, Hana has his father's ghost partner and then loses him, and then all he does is use demon mode, and then he dies, so he has to get a new ghost partner. And then while he's in hell, the final line of the fucking show is him going, I know, I'll utilize the power of love. And then it ends, roll credits. And I'm like, oh my god. And it's also crazy to me to have the message be like, power of friendship, power of love, when like every person that met him was like, you suck, I hate you, you're the worst fucking piece of shit loser ever, you need to change your attitude or no one's gonna like you. And then it cuts to all his, like, in his brain, he like sees all his friends and he's like, I have people that love me. And I'm like, they all hate your guts, man. Every episode they're like, fuck you. I know after Shaman King Flowers, the author has gone on to make Shaman King the Superstar, which is like just more of Shaman King Flowers, but a different manga for some reason. And I don't think it ended. And now the author is doing another manga called, like, that's not Shaman King based. But I remember seeing some Reddit threads that was like, they just abandoned Shaman King the Superstar. So because that's not done, and Shaman King Flowers came out a couple years ago now. Like, I think it was like Shaman King 2020, Flowers 2021 or 2022. I don't think we're getting Superstars anytime soon. And to be honest, if it's the same quality as Flowers, that's fine. I don't think they should have done a sequel series. It's not. I like Shaman King a lot. It's the first manga I ever like read all the way through, because when I found out that 4Kids did that bullshittery where they were like, it's just completely different, I was like, what's the real story? So then I was like 12, 14 in that range, and I went and read the manga, and I was like, whoa, this is way better. And it's actually just fine. It's like a 7. It's good. It's fine. But it's not so good that I'm like, when are we getting more Shaman King? Like, it could have just been done forever, and that's fine. But yeah, did I say I gave it a 6? I gave it a 6. I said I gave it a 6, but I probably should have given it a 5. Because it's so, whatever, you know. Like, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, it's whatever. And they shouldn't even make Shaman King Superstar, but I would still fucking watch it. Like, I'm a hack. Alright, moving on is our first good and enjoyable was Sentenced to be Hero, which I remember episode 1 aired, and then people on Twitter were going crazy. They were like, is this peak cinema? And I was like, okay, time for me to plant my flag and see if that's true. And then I watched it. Episode 1's like 40 minutes long, and it's a fucking epic. It's like really, really cool. It's a beautiful show full of like awesome Sakuga animation. I guess I'll start with I gave it an 8 out of 10, but that's kind of like inflating the score, because I would have given the story, the writing, like probably a 7, maybe a 6 in the worst episodes, because like it's just fine, but I'm about to glaze it for like, obviously I just said it's beautiful, and like when there's action, it's like you want to watch it, and it's like, oh, that's really fucking awesome, hell yeah, let's go. But what I'm actually like giving it a bonus for is the characters. I really like pretty much every character is pretty cool. Maybe the least interesting character is the last hero they introduce, who's just like, I'm psycho. Or there's a character that's just like a zombie. That's like, you know, he has no character because he's just like a zombie. So the idea in this world is that you can be like a member of the military, but then I'm going to get details wrong because it's not like military than this. If you're a person and you fuck up, someone will roll up and be like, hey, it's either we kill you, put you in prison forever, or you can become a hero. And a hero is like a bad thing in this world, where it's like you're kind of like an indentured slave warrior, like mercenary of sorts. And people are like, is that a piece of shit hero? Get out of my sight, you fucker. Yeah, so I think the main character, I don't fully remember. I know in Universe there's characters that are like literal gods and goddesses. And episode 1, the main guy picks up like a partnership with the goddess Teterita, I think her name is. And they kind of like become like a dynamic duo, and it's revealed that he used to have a similar situation with another god, but things happened and she died. So people were like, "You killed her," and he was like, "No, I didn't. This is what happened." And they're like, "No, you killed her. So you're a hero now." So yeah, and it's basically just the heroes rolling up and doing good, and people are like, maybe the heroes aren't so bad. Uh, yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about this because it's just like it's good. It's just good. And how do you extrapolate on it's good? It's something I think people should watch, especially if good visuals are something that titillate you. I'm definitely the story didn't do a whole lot for me, and it was mostly just like enjoying the characters and the visuals that like was what made me enjoy it. Sorry, I'm fucking passing out mid sentence. They end it with like there's gonna be a season 2 bait, and I'm like I'm excited. Season 2, if they follow this thread that you've wove, it's gonna be better than season 1. So I'm excited. And then it's weird because it feels like Vampire Hunter, Shaman King, and Sensitive Hero. In my mind, I watched those a million years ago. And the next thing on the list is Darling in the Franxx, which feels like I watched like 2 days ago, although I guess it's been a minute. When this show was new, this is going to be another. I bring this up a lot, it seems like, where back when I was in college, so like 2017, 2018, there was a show on YouTube by the guys who did Dragon Ball Z Abridged, the Team 4 Star. They made a show called Anime FMK. FMK stands for Fuck, Marry, Kill. They would take a bunch of they would like pull the audience and be like, what should we watch this anime season? They would take a bunch of shows, they would watch them, and then they would like review the episode week by week, and then they would say they're going to keep fucking them, which means they're going to keep watching them. They're going to kill them, which means they're not going to watch any more episodes. At least for the show, they might continue watching it, but not discuss it more on more episodes. And then at the end of the season, they would be like, hey, this show was really good, I'm going to marry it. And I think Darling in the Franxx is something that they gave up on, except for one guy. I don't remember that. This was a decade ago. But I remember I was watching along with it. And I only lasted like 3 or 4 episodes. I thought this show was so fucking boring back then. Because, it's a mecha show. And back then, I really was not interested in watching shit like that. So I was like, big robot's boring. So, and then the basic premise is that the main guy doesn't get to pilot the big robots. He has no partner. And then, a manic pixie dream girl with alien demon horn shows up, and she's like, don't you want to dick me down real good? And then they pilot a big robot together, and they pilot the best big robot because she's such a special little lady. And I was like, oh, Jesus, shoot me in the fucking back of the head. That sucks. That's so boring. And to be honest, it does take a few episodes for that to like stop being so drab. Stop being so like, all right, I get it. Like, come on, let's go. And this says it was 24 episodes, which it was, and it kind of felt like it could have ended after the first 12 or 13. I don't remember. Like, by the end, it's like him and Manic Pixie Dream Girl named 02. His name is Hero because he's a hero, and her name is 02 because she's an abomination of science. And they, it's like, oh, they're finally part of the team for real. And it seems like it could have ended there. But it doesn't. And there's 10 more episodes where they just slowly reveal that, hey, they've actually known each other since they were little kids, and she used to be like a feral wild child that didn't even speak English, but he knew her back then, and he like raised her in the woods kind of, and they fell in love back then, and then he forgot. They do introduce the idea that the like big robot company that they work for, because it's like the world ended, but they invented immortality and shit like that. They have because they're so science forward, they have a way to like erase memories and shit. So it makes sense that he doesn't remember that until he's like, wait a minute, now I remember, and you're like, okay. But that it just made me roll my eyes that it's like they've been destined to be together since they were 6. It's like, okay, I guess. I think it would have been better if they just randomly met one day. Like it was already Manic Pixie Dream Girl territory, but now you're pushing it with like, no, they're childhood besties. They've loved each other since day one. I'm already fucking losing my voice. Not even like halfway through. That's so cool. I counted. There's like 16 things I have to talk about. Uh, Maybe I'll just keep going until I can't talk at all, and I'm just like, would that be a good video? I gave this one a 5. I was thinking 6 out of 10 the whole time, but then by the end, what happens? They start fighting the like aliens that they have to go up against, but like what was it? There was like revealed that like the head honcho of the company they work for is like one of the aliens, or he merges with the alien. And then Hero and Zero Two have to go take him down, but to do that they like ascend to another realm in another dimension, and they like stop being corporeal, and it's like, what? And then they don't even beat him, and they're like, we're going to disappear now, and he's like, it was a good fight, soldiers. And I'm like, what, you respect them now? And then they disappear, and then as they're like disappearing into the void, he's like, are we cooked? Is this it? And she's like, she pulls out the fucking Doctor Strange where she's like, I'll love you in every universe. And then it shows flowers or something like that. And then it shows, the show ends with like many, many years into the future that there's 2 kids that happen to look exactly like them. And it's like, whoa, they reincarnated and they get to be together now, I guess. And maybe if you like really, really like fuck with the relationship that they had, you're like, that means something. But me, no, I'm dead inside. So I was like, that's cringe. That's cringe and gay, and I don't like it. Then moving on, two 5 out of 10s in a row. The next thing I watched was 91 Days, which I remember when this was new, people really liking it. And they're like, oh, 91 Days is something else. And then I watched it, and it's the most whatever fucking show in the world. It's so whatever, I can't even like properly like say what it was. It's a mafia show. A kid sees his dad get got by the mafia, and he's like, it's time for vengeance. And then he like joins the mafia himself to get the vengeance. But then by the end, he like gets a mutual respect for a guy in the mafia, and the final thing of the show is him crying, be like, I wish I knew how to quit you. And then they kiss. They don't kiss. I made that up because in my mind, I wonder if I'm making this up, where I'm like, did people like this because they're like fujoing out, where they're like, it's gay, so it's good. Which, you know, if that's what you look for in a show, then I guess go crazy. But, you know, I would like to enjoy a show without imagining the 2 main guys' penises touching. But that's just me. You know, ideally it would be good in every facet, and then also their penises touch. But that didn't happen. Yeah, I gave that one a fat 5 out of 10. It was the most whatever. It literally, allegedly, I went into my hard drive and I was like, I'm running out of space to allegedly pirate more shit. So I need to watch something so I can delete stuff to make more space. So I just went in. It's sorted alphabetically. So top of the list was something with numbers, 91 Days. Click watch. Which, you know, maybe you should watch things because you actually want to, and not I need to make more space to download episodes of fucking Rooster Fighter. I don't know. Anyway, so we move on from that, where we watch True Peak, because I watched Freerun, Beyond Journey's End Season 2, and, you know, I am a certified Freerun glazer, or I wish I was. I wish he was real, and in my bedroom right now, and instead of making a video, her and I were... Anyway, so I watched Freerun Beyond Journey's End Season 2, and what's awesome is that, you know, like Shaman King or other things where it's like, oh, I read the manga, and then later I can watch the anime. So I read Freerun now 2 years ago. Oof, time is going, and you know, I loved it. Like one of my like new favorites since I read it. And then I watched season 1, and I was like, it's just as good as when I read the manga like 2 months ago. So then I waited for this one to come out like completely so I could watch it all in one. It's only 10 episodes long, which when they announced that, I was like, that's kind of cringe. I really wish it was like 20 something episodes like season 1. But then I actually watched it, and I was like, oh my, it makes perfect sense. It's only 10 episodes. Time to fucking glaze just the fact that they made it 10 episodes, like not even the story or anything. But no, it makes a lot of sense why they did this, because, you know, there's some episodes where like Freerun's pacing is just like, oh, you know, they're just doing a side quest and it's just a brief little thing, and it really, you know, it's a slow burn. So it's like a slow burn of like some side quests for like most of season 2, which the benefit of the show is the character moments and like seeing how Freerin reacts to recreating her journey, or even how her new human companions with Fern and Stark get to know each other and like adventure with her, and she's like, oh, this reminds me of my last adventure, blah blah blah. And then it culminates with, because it's 10 episodes, I don't know if it's the last 4 or the last 3, but the last 3 are like the cherry on top, where it's like, the rest of it's good and like it's great if you like writing, but then like the ending gives the people that are here for like the action of it all like something to feast on. And this is what I mean, where like I read it, I loved it, out of my brain. It's been 2 years, I don't remember everything about it. And then this plot line starts, and I'm like, oh fuck, I remember this. That made me really, really like endeared to these characters that back in season 1 were just kind of like background characters. But like the benefit of the show is how good it is at writing the characters and the dynamics. It's funny that a character that was just a background participant at the end of season 1 is here asking to pat Freerin on the head if she helps them with her quest. It's like, haha, funny, cute, kawaii. But then it ends and it tees up season 3. And I'm like, it makes so much sense that they just did this short burn season. I'm kind of pissed that, season 3's next year. And, they have to make it, obviously, so, like, cook. But I remember, like, in my head, it's like, there's season 1, which is, like, when I was reading it, I was loving all of it. And then there's season 2, which I also like. But, like, it's, like, a shorter storyline compared to the stuff from season 1. And then compared to the stuff that's in season 3. Like, I imagine I think all of season 3 will be this particular storyline. I don't fully remember, like I was saying, but it's gonna go crazy. It's gonna go good. But yeah, did I say I gave it a 9? I gave season 1, I definitely remember giving that a 10 because I love Freerin. It's one of my favorites that I've read in the last however long. And like, realistically, I would say like everything I've read in the manga would probably also get a 10, but like season 1, especially the beginning, like affects me emotionally and like really invested me into Freerin herself. And season 2 still has some moments like that, but none that hit as hard as the beginning of season 1, or what'll hit in season 3. Like, so it's still 9 because it's like near perfect in my brain, but like it's not the peak of what it has to offer, but it's still so good. It's my beloved. And then I'm sure other people would be like, oh, you watched 2 things that are peak back to back, but for me, the show has never been my cup of tea exactly. My complicated relationship with watching Jujutsu Kaisen season 3, The Culling Games Part 1. Now, traditionally, I have scored the other Jujutsu Kaisens low because I really just it's not my thing. I don't like it, which is crazy because I like so much other battle shonen action unga bunga bullshit. I'm a Dragon Ball fan, for fuck's sake, and I'm like, Jujutsu Kaisen's not that good, but I really don't like care about the story it told or the characters that are in that story. I remember being on Twitter.ca and scrolling, and I would get ads from Shonen Jump of like, read bullshit now. And for whatever reason, I happened to click one, and all the replies were like, when is Jujutsu Kaisen going to get an anime? And I was like, what's Jujutsu Kaisen? And I think someone in the thread even said that, and someone replied with like, oh, it's basically like a more modern version of Bleach, but instead of swords, it's like, different stuff. And I'm like, hey, I like Bleach. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I'll check it out. So I read the manga, and I remember reading 50 chapters, and I was like, woof, I'm pretty fucking bored, and 50 chapters is a lot. Like, that's if it's coming out weekly, that's almost a whole year's worth of bullshit. Or, if it took breaks, that's over a year's worth of bullshit. And then, eventually, when I'm reading it, I come around to it, and, there's parts of what's in season 1 I liked, and then season 2 I really liked when I read the manga. And then we get to see what's season 3, The Culling Games, which is when I fell off a cliff, and I was like, oh, I do not like this. And so I was not looking forward to jumping in. because it's it, season 2 ends on a pretty like awesome note, and then they like grind to a halt to be like, okay, it's Culling Games time, but it's also not, because season 3 starts. It's 12 episodes long, and the Culling Games don't take place until like episode 8, or at least they've started, and the characters are like, we have to prepare to like really to get in there. I'll say up front my score. I gave this one a 6 out of 10 because those first like 7 episodes, don't get me wrong, this is a beautiful show. This is definitely like one of the best looking shows you can go watch. And if that's like exciting to you, which it is for me, great, go crazy. But like in episode 1, there's a scene where like the main kid is just like fighting a giant demon, and I'm kind of like, why should I care about this? I'm like, I kind of wish the demon would just eat him. Or he then like, spoilers, there's a point where he literally gets killed by another character, and I'm like, oh, I wish. But then they instantly res him, and they're like, oh, I just had to pretend to kill you. And I'm like, stop pretending, just do it. And it's just not that interesting until, hey, the Culling Games start. And I really don't remember a lot about this point because I was pretty checked out, because this is when I was like, who cares? Actually, before the Culling Games start, there's a big moment for the character Maki, who people really like because she's cool, allegedly. At least that's what people think. And she gets an awesome moment for the most part, because it's really, really beautiful for the most part, because there's moments where the camera like zooms out and then she gets like this big and she looks like a fucking stick figure and she moves like a goddamn Minecraft character, and I'm like, there's probably reasons they had to do that, but like it is weird that in a show that's like so beautiful, the stylistic choice they took for this episode was her looking like she's a fucking made out of paper. I don't know, it was weird. It still looked great. Like when it was like zoomed in and like actual like not like highly detailed shots, it looked great, but like those more minimalist shots, I was really distracted. I was like, what the fuck are they doing? Then after that, the Culling Games start, and every character for the most part has awesome like Hunter x Hunter JoJo's stand abilities, like where it's like a guy, the one character Fushiguro goes up against a guy called Reggie Star, and his name is Reggie Star because his power is to take receipts from a store, and he can just like spawn that shit like in real life. So like he gets his ass beat, and then he had a receipt for like a stay at a spa, and then he like makes it real, and he's full healed. And I'm like, that's really cool. That's the kind of shit you'd see in like Hunter x Hunter. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. I don't remember like the power sets like being so like actually interesting to like watch or read about, because when I was reading this I was like every fucking chapter. But yeah, there's a couple, like there's a girl that like can like rip and like bend air, and like that looked really fucking cool. But then the final fight of the show is guy who can copy abilities, girl who can rip air, a bug. I don't think the bug had cool powers. A bug demon. It's like the size of whatever. And then a guy who has a pompadour, but then he like shapes it like a cannon, and he shoots beams out of his head, like out of his hair. But then he like gropes the pompadour like he's grabbing his cock, and then he like strokes it, and he doesn't stroke. I made that up. But then he like he grips it. He gorilla grips it, and then he shoots beams out of his hair. And I'm like, okay. And it's like, he's the strongest person in the Culling Games, and I'm like, what? It's like, okay, so there's guys with the cool, interesting abilities, and then the strongest guy just shoots beams, which I guess as a Dragon Ball fan I can appreciate. But once all these big like cool fights take place was when my monkey brain was like, whoa, this is awesome. But like I said, so I gave it a 6 because I did enjoy it by the end. I just wish I like cared about anyone that was actually on my screen. Like I'm just glazing Freerun, and I'm like, I really, really connect with these characters and the like emotional journeys they go on. And then JJK, the most I can say is like the guy with the penis hair is cool. I don't know. I'm looking forward to the next season. Although it just kind of ends. I don't remember exactly how it ends, but it was just kind of like it ends on a line and then credits went, and I was like, that was it? I even went and looked. I was like, that was episode 12, but like there's an episode 13. Nope, it just kind of ends, and it's the Culling Games Part 1, so I guess it makes sense. But I don't know, maybe they should slate Part 2 to come out like as soon as possible, but it's probably not coming until like next year. I think, yeah, because Culling Games Part 1 just happened. It was airing the same time as Free Run, which was like 2 months ago. So, you know, unfortunately, it just kind of ends on a wet fart, and we just have to wait. But, you know, hey, they're starting to win me over. And I do know that, like, once they get to, like, the ending, that's gonna fucking, like, that's gonna blow people's fucking minds. It's gonna go so crazy. So, you know, look forward to that if you like JJK. Maybe by the end, if there, I have to imagine there's like 2 or 3 more seasons. That might be crazy. I don't actually remember how long it is, but the Culling Games is the end. But I don't remember how much more there is from this point. But you know, as we go on, I make the scores higher and higher. Like season 1 was low, and then season 2 was higher than that. The movie was maybe was higher or lower than season 2, but you know, and then season 3 it finally has a positive fucking score. Hey, let's go. Anyway, that's JJK season 3. You know, from hater to lover, probably not. The next thing I watched here was, when did this come out actually? Because I remember putting it off. 2025. Okay, I thought it came out in like 2024. I watched Yaiba Samurai of Legend. Oh, no, Yaiba Samurai Legend. I made that up. I made the of up. This, I think I just saw it on Netflix, and I was like, that looks cool. And I watched episode 1, and it was very fucking cool. I gave this one an 8, but it's an 8 that I kind of love, like a 10. Like, this is, it's another, I think it's actually the same thing as, like, Sentenced to Be Hero, where the storyline is like really nothing. It's not like anything to write home about. It's literally a story of like kid has to like become the chosen one to go beat the Demon King. So it's nothing like crazy interesting, but God, is it fun. Holy shit, the action is so great. It's a beautiful show. It's by the same author as the person that does Case Closed, which is like I've never watched that. I've never read that. I just know that, like One Piece, it's like over 1,000 episodes at this point. So it's like one of those longer tier shows that maybe, like how One Piece fans are like crazy fanatic about One Piece. Maybe there's some Case Closed heads that are like, you have to watch all 1,000 episodes or else. But Yaiba, it's crazy what it becomes, because I went into it, and back when it was like new last year, I watched episode 1, and episode 1 is like there's this little fucker named Yaiba. He practices swordplay with his dad in the woods, not the woods, the jungle, and then him and his dad accidentally end up on a fucking pallet truck and get driven to Tokyo, and then there they meet with like someone that Yaiba's dad knows, and Yaiba starts to stay there to like practice kendo. And then he goes to school with the main girl, and there's a guy there, and Yaiba's like, fight me. So they duel, and first he duels some other guy, and he wins, like, I think barely. And I'm like, oh, this is fun. It's going to be like some like country bumpkin-ass kid, like learning the ways of kendo in a like modern school setting. That'll be really fun. And then episode 2 is all about Yaiba battling Onimaru, the best guy at kendo at the school. And it's a really, really fun episode where they end up like running around the whole city, like on top of trucks and shit, and he's like throwing laundry at Onimaru, and I'm like, oh fuck, this is really, really fun. And then episode 2 ends with Onimaru going home and be like, that damn fucker Yaiba, I'll get the best of him yet. And then he like sees like, oh, there's a hole in the ground of my house, and he goes underground, and there's a glowing purple katana, and he's like, what the fuck is this? And he grabs it, and like voices are like, it's time to awaken the Demon King, and he's like, okay. And then he like pulls out the sword, and then he grows demon horns. His name is Onimaru, and Oni means demon, so it's like, it's on the nose, but like it's on the nose in a way that reminds me of original Dragon Ball, and I'm like, hell yeah. And then he like attacks Yaiba with his real sword, and then it just escalates, where after that Onimaru is like possessed by the sword. Now he's the evil Demon King, and it's like, I think the main girl's parents or something are like, you gotta go seek out the like, he has the Sword of Wind, so you have to go get the Sword of Lightning. So then Yaiba has to go and get the Sword of Lightning, and he meets Miyamoto, who was a real life samurai or something like that. They do that a couple times where they kept name dropping real people. Like there was like Goemon, or I think there was a ninja that was Sasuke or something like that. And I really like. I already liked it. Like from those first few episodes where I'm like, oh man, it's about the fucking fighting the Demon King. Okay, that's cool. I thought it was a fucking like kendo sports anime. And then he goes to Miyamoto, and then he gets the lightning sword, and then Miyamoto is like conjuring. Excuse me. He's taking animals, and he's making them like transform into like demons. So like he sends a handful of demons off to fight Yaiba, and I was really endeared at the point when Yaiba. What happens? Yaiba beats one or two of the demons that get sent after him, and then they get an orb. I think this is when he gets an orb that he can like put in his sword, and it like makes him stronger / able to utilize the lightning abilities of the lightning sword. But at first, when he does it, he gets like mind controlled by the demon that's inside his sword. So he goes crazy style, and then Miyamoto's like, "We need to take him down. Hey, evil demon that came to attack us, you're helping me fight him." And then the frog demon that's with them, they team up and to like take down Yaiba. And then afterwards, the frog demon's just like, "We're homies now." And then he becomes one of the main characters and is just one of the good guys. And I was like, "Fuck yes, this reminds me of watching Dragon Ball when I was a little boy." And then after that, every episode kind of follows the same structure where it's like Yaiba and his friends are adventuring, and then oh shit, now the bat demon is attacking us, or like insert animal, yeah, it's that same basic structure until later on they go on a quest where they have to. They start with the lightning orb. Eventually, Onimaru steals the lightning orb, and then they go on a quest for the dragon orb. But then they keep finding other orbs, like, oh, this is the fire orb, this is the ice orb, this is the gravity orb, shit like that. And it's fun. And then they finally get all the orbs, but then it ends like Onimaru and Yaiba are fighting, and I'm like, let's go. I'm sad it's over because it was so awesome, but let's go. And then a spaceship shows up, and on it is Kaguya, Princess Kaguya from the moon, and her bunny slaves, workers, and she's like, I'm here to rule this good godforsaken planet. And Yaiba and Onimaru are like, hey, what the fuck? And I'm like, hey, what the fuck? And I think when the process I go through is that I post this bullshit on my Instagram story to be like, hey, I watched this. I posted this one. I did the nickel meme where I'm like, if I had a nickel for a battle shonen that ended with Princess Kaguya unceremoniously showing up, I would have 2 nickels. What the fuck? Because this is how Naruto ends, where they're battling Madara, and then Kishimoto was like, fuck that, here's Princess Kaguya, and then Kaguya shows up. And then Yaiba, it's like, oh, the final confrontation with Onimaru, actually, Princess Kaguya shows up. And I was like, okay, so maybe they'll have, like, Yaiba and Onimaru team up. That's always cool when the good guy and the bad guy have to, like, become boys. But Onimaru just leaves. He's like, oh, he gets in his big, like, demon castle, and he's like, oh, it's time to leave. Also, Google search Kaguya, because what the fuck? And then it ends with Yaiba has to fight Kaguya, but then I'm going to get some details wrong. I think Kaguya just leaves, and then it like ends with sequel bait. But I instantly went to go look at the manga, but the manga is like not even done. All of what season 1 is out. This is also like a remake, from what I'm aware of. Like, it's an older. I think like they did Yaiba before Case Closed. Maybe I don't. Zero research. I don't know. I'm probably making shit up, but God, I hope they make a season 2 like as soon as possible, because this is clearly one of my new fucking favorite things in the world. I need to see Yaiba do more lightning orb, but I don't know if that's happening anytime soon, but I hope it does. Yaiba JJK, I'm afraid Yaiba sweeps. JJK doesn't have the guy who has a sword that is really long for no reason. They don't explain it. That's one of the first weird pieces of magic. Like, I can't stress enough how I was like, oh, it's a sports anime about like fighting with wooden swords, and it was like, no, Onimaru is possessed by the devil. What? Peak peak, I'm afraid. An 8 out of 10 that I love, like an 11. Then after that, I watched Dandelion, which I had heard about not too long before it came out. Dandelion is a manga by the author who did Gintama, which is like a very, very popular parody anime, which I've only seen very little of Gintama. But back in another anime FMK moment where they watched like Gintama season 4 or something like that, and I was like, I guess. I watched that. I liked it then. And I was going to watch Gintama recently because they put some of it on Netflix, and I was like, oh, cool. But they put it where there's Japanese, but there's no subtitles, and I'm like, well, I don't speak Japanese. 14-year-old me didn't lock in and like continue to try and learn that shit, so I just speak English like a fucking loser. And then I was like, when it says there's a dub, let's check out the dub. And then I clicked the dub, and the dub sounds like dog shit. Because this is like Gintama season 1. I don't know when that's from, the 90s or 2000s, whenever. Back before, dubbers like gave a shit to like try. So it sounds like shit, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I'll either watch it on Crunchyroll or allegedly I will pirate it. But I haven't done that yet. And then in the meantime, they've made Dandelion the anime, which, was like new. It's about a guy, I think they're called angels in verse, and they like help ghosts pass on. But usually, the angels are cutthroat, and they just like are like, bam, go to heaven. But the main guy has a heart of gold, so he actually like wants them to live out their last dreams or whatever. So it is. I give it a 7. I think in hindsight it's a little bit more of a 6, but I feel like whenever I give a bonus to something, it's because I like the characters, and I really, really like the main cast for this one. I didn't think it was quite as funny as Gintama was, but Gintama has the benefit of being like however fucking long. There's like 7 or 8 seasons of Gintama or whatever. And Gintama leans way more into parody, where this is more like just actual gag show. But I did think it was like, one of the examples of like they find a guy who's like a boxer, and they're like, oh, I know, you want to, at some point in chasing him to like send him on to heaven or whatever, he possesses the body of a kangaroo, and they learn that like, oh, he was a boxer, but he never got to have that one final match. And they're like, okay, so the main guy agrees to fight him, but he has to fight him in the kangaroo body, so he's like literally boxing a kangaroo, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. But then he loses the fight, and he's like, I gave it my all, I hope you're satisfied. And the guy like leaves the kangaroo, and he's like, you guys didn't really listen to me, but I wanted to say that I didn't get to have my last final fight, but I also don't really give that big of a shit about boxing, it turns out. It's fine I didn't get to have that final fight. And they're like, I got my ass beat for nothing? And I'm like, okay, that's okay. Not the funniest, but the characters have heart, so I appreciated that. I gave it a 7. It's more of a 6, 6, 7. Moving on from that, I watched Cat's Eye 2025. This is another remake. I think Cat's Eye is from the 90s. I never look shit up. I just fucking guess. Jarvis, look up when Cat's Eye came out. It's a show about 3 sisters that are cat burglars. That's why it's called Cat's Eye. Is it on the nose? Yes. Whatever. Their dad was like a famous artist, and all his stuff has been like co-opted by like other people. And they don't want the art to end up in the hands of like shitty rich guys, so they go steal their dad's artwork back. But the main gimmick, because it's like half like spy thriller, but it's also mostly a comedy, and the main jokes come from the gimmick that the main girl of the trio, I don't remember any other names because I hate women. Oh, that's a joke. I love women. Is dating a detective, and he's like the main guy on the case of like, I'm gonna catch those fuckers at Cat's Eye, and they're like, good luck. There's surely none of them are in this room right now, and it wasn't like awesome the whole time. Like I was a little early on where I was like, that's a good gimmick, but then as it went on, it became a little more ridiculous. Where it was like, at one point, the girlfriend and the boyfriend, criminal girlfriend, cop boyfriend. Criminal daughter or cop son. Whatever. What? Shut the fuck up. They're trapped in like a landfill together, and he's like, for whatever reason, he's blind in that specific moment, and she can't talk because he would be like, "You're my girlfriend. My girlfriend's the evil cat's eye lady, huh?" And so to talk, she like spells out like kanji on his chest or whatever. And then when they get out of there, he is like, "I'll let you go because we needed each other to get out this one time." But then it escalates into a point of ridiculousness where in like the final episode, a bad guy is like literally handing them to him on a silver platter. And like the big one-way mirror opens up and his eyes are closed and he's like, "I won't look at you as a test of good faith, so you guys know I'm on your side on this one." And I'm like, okay. Like, it loses a little bit of believability at that point that he would be like, "I still don't know it's my girlfriend," even though there's several points where people are like, "Hey man, it's probably your fucking girlfriend," like other members of the force or whatever, or even himself. He's like, "Wait, it doesn't make sense that she would be here when, is she Cat's Eye?" I don't know. I gave this one a 7. It was fun, but just that particular point was a little ridiculous by the end. But I don't know if they're making more of this. I don't know how long the original was. If there was more made, I would watch it. But yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna do a count because we're an hour in, and I'm not losing my voice because the water is saving me in my trying times. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, technically 6 more things. I really want to get to some of the later stuff. I'll just power through. I'm not losing my voice. It's fine. Next, I watched Hell's Paradise Season 2, which I will say right away I gave an 8 out of 10. I remember, I think I gave Season 1 6. I watched Season 1. People were really hyping this one up. There was a point where people were like, "Oh, the dark and twisted modern day shonen that like, this ain't your daddy's shonen," or whatever the fuck they said. For like Chainsaw Man, JJK, and Hell's Paradise, because they're dark and edgy and only the Joker could like these anime. I don't know. But I remember I watched Season 1 and I was there was cool action, but I really didn't like the characters for whatever reason. I remember even thinking some of them were fucking annoying. So I gave it a 6 because it was enjoyable, but like, it could have been better. And then I was hesitant to even watch Season 2 because I was so whatever on Season 1. I even remember talking to my gay boyfriend Andrew and being like, ranting about how fucking dog shit it was. And I was like, hang on, let me look at my score. And I was like, oh, I gave it a 6. I was like, that's way better than I thought. I gave it like a 3 or a 4. Like I thought I hated this show, but it turns out I thought it was fine. And then I watched Season 2, and for whatever reason, I like all the characters. I really like the plots they were introducing. All the action is fucking like S tier. It's a beautiful show done by Mappa. I'm like, oh, they fucking, they won my heart. My heart grew 17 sizes this day after, JJK Season 3's changed me. I'm a different man than I used to be. But yeah, I'm losing my shit. The worst thing about this season is that it just ends. It ends with like a big like, all the characters are like, we need to get the fuck out of here, and then it's credits roll. And I'm like, oh, there's clearly more story, and I don't know when there was a couple years in between Season 1 and 2, I think. So who knows when the fuck we're getting Season 3? And now that I'm like, oh, I want to watch more, they're like, you'll have to fucking wait, loser. Oh well. And then, not a whole lot to say about that. The plot is basically the same as Season 1, where it's like, there's these people, they're on an island, there's evil plant monsters, they need to kill the evil plant monsters to get the elixir of life or whatever, so they can like finish their mission and get the fuck out. But it leads to cool action, so what more could you want? Side eyes JJK, and me being like, I wish the characters were good. Moving on, I watched Trigun Stargaze, which is the sequel to Trigun Stampede from last year. And I think it was literally, if it wasn't my last video, it was the one before that where I watched Trigun Stampede, because I watched it pretty recently and I really, really loved it. Original Trigun is something I watched in high school when I was like 15, 16. And I really, really liked it then. I think the Trigun movie, Trigun Badlands Rumble, is like one of the better anime original movies, at least like comparative to other shit that's not as good, like the Blue Exorcist movie or whatever, stuff that's just whatever. So then I was like, oh, they're remaking it. Cool, I'll watch that. I watched season one. It's a completely different story, but still good. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's like a reimagining, or maybe is this what the manga is like? And like season one wasn't like, was season one like its own thing? I don't know. I haven't really like looked into it, but you know they're completely different. And I'm like, but Vash the Stampede is still fun as hell. It's beautiful. Like I like the characters. I like the action. It's a beautiful show that's CG. Like we've finally gotten to a point where CG anime isn't like the most ugliest fucking dog shit in the world. I think I gave season one like an 8, maybe a 9. I really liked it. And then this comes out and I'm like, there's more so fast, hell yeah. But while I still really, really like the characters and the action's cool, the story isn't. It feels like I've since been seeing the voice actors being like, it's over. And I'm like, it's over? Which it does kind of end in a way where it's like, I guess it's over. I don't know. I was just hoping there would be more to like make up for the season that I didn't like as much. This season, it's like I don't fully remember how season one ends, but this one starts and Vash the Stampede's all emo and he's like, "Oh, life is shit," and then it ends with him fighting his brother again, and I'm like, is this not something that like was like dealt with in season one? I thought season one ended and they would like move on from the like Vash versus evil, fucked up, twisted psychopath brother storyline, and that's how this season ends. They finally like move on, but it ends with like Vash the Stampede is no longer like a superpower Chad. Now he's nothing, and I'm like, okay. I felt like maybe there's still like something like somewhere to go from here, but there isn't. It just like it was so sadly whatever. Like I didn't dislike it, but like in comparison to like what season one set up, I was like, this is new peak, and it wasn't, you know. And I was like, okay, well maybe like the next thing will like make up for it, but you know, apparently it's over, so it won't. Maybe I should read the manga, but I probably won't do that soon, since the memory is tainted. Or I'm like, it's all good, and then we get this, and I'm like, oh, which this is good. It's just not what it was, you know. Maybe I'm just a fucking hater, but I wanted to move on to this one specifically. This is the highlight of my whole life. This is a show called The Darwin Incident. I saw screenshots of this, of like the poster, and it's like a girl, to her back is a chimpanzee, and I'm like, what's this about? Darwin. I don't watch it as it's coming out because I like to binge watch shows. And then towards the end, some screenshots of the show come out, and I'm like, no fucking way. I start watching it. I thought it was about, you know, based on these screenshots, I'm like, oh, the chimpanzee talks. That's crazy. Imagine how hard my dick was blown off when I click episode 1, and it's like, there's a schizophrenic scientist that took his semen and inseminated a chimpanzee, and thus was born the first half chimp, half human, the humanzee. It's a half chimpanzee, half human, and he looks exactly like a chimpanzee, and the only human thing about him is that he can speak English. What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you what? So I'm watching it, and it's like, is he gonna be okay at a normal, like his foster parents are like, is he gonna be okay at a normal school? I mean, he's a fucked up monster from another dimension, basically. And it's like, hopefully he'll be okay. I watched this one dubbed, and for a big part of it, I'm like, I Google it, and it's like, oh, Amazon, and Amazon gotten some shit for doing like AI dubs, and I'm like, is this AI dubbed? And people are like, no, the voice acting is just dog shit. And I'm like, okay. Because like so much shows are dubbed in like Texas by like Crunchyroll / Funimation, and for the most part, you know, sometimes the dubs are shit, and sometimes it's good and like they care. I would say for the most part, Crunchyroll cares, but this was like some random place in Florida, and it was like, get anyone off the street to voice in the fucking half chimp, half human anime. Doesn't matter if they're good. We just need these episodes out. So then, you know, it's like he goes to school. And I didn't really know what the show was about other than like, oh, talking chimp. So I was very pleased to find out that he's half human. But then the first like 4 episodes are like almost vegan propaganda. Like, it's fine, you know, being a vegan, that's great, whatever. But it's like, there's like kids at his school that are like, one side being like, arguing against why you should be a vegan, and then like his foster parents are like, well, being a vegan is great because of this, and it's like, okay, it's like weird that like they're playing both sides of like the assholes that are anti-vegan, and the vegans are like, no, you should be vegan, and then the chimpanzee's like, I'm just a vegan because it's what I've been since I've been like, I was raised vegan, it's all I know, and I don't give a shit about changing. Like, who cares? Why are you bullying me? And I'm like, what? Why? Leave him alone. He's just a little boy. But like in terms of the things you should bully the fucked up animal monster about, it's like, you like eating bananas, you fucking freak. Like, I don't know. They're like tier listing the reasons to bully someone. Being a vegan is not even on the list. But then what happens? Where's it go? Because it goes fucking crazy. It's like a few episodes of vegan propaganda, and him making friends with one human girl. But then people start like armed guards and like soldiers in the military start coming after Charlie the the humanzee, and he busts out Captain America level feats of violence where he just like everything they can do, he can just react faster than the naked eye and fucking like shit stomp them. And I'm like, let's go, this is fucking peak. As this half chimp half human just beats the fuck out of like guys with AK-47s, and I'm like, this is what writing was made for. There's a point where Charlie is literally taken into custody, and he's like in jail, he's behind bars, and his parents are like, give me my son back. And they're like, well, technically he's not a human, it doesn't like fully have human rights, so like he's just an object, and we don't even have to give him back to you. And I'm like, well, it does beg the question that like, if it doesn't have human rights, do you have the right to like detain him? Or yeah. But then something happens, and his only human friend is like, Charlie, help. And then it cuts to Charlie, and he rips open the bars with his bare hands, like fully destroys the fucking iron. And then he comes back, and he's like, hey guys, what's up? What do you need? He's so fucking nonplussed the whole show. And it's like, it just seems like he doesn't care about anything, which, like, why would he? He's a chimpanzee / human. And then the show progresses, and then there's a point where he's like in the room, and this is the scene that got me to watch the show because I thought it was so based. I pogged, if you will, where he's in the room with his high school friend Lucy, because they make a reference to like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds or whatever. Like the main villain does. He calls her the girl with the kaleidoscope eyes, and she's like, I don't know what that means. I'm a vegan dad, so he's out like, I sure do love the Beatles. But he's in the room with his friend, and she brings up how she's also a foster child. It's a little different because he's a half animal man, but she's like, yeah, so I don't know, maybe there's just like a connection between us. And he's like, is that why you like me? And she's like, no, I'm glad I met you, and I've gotten to know you, and I really do like you. And he's like, oh, you like me? And she's like, yeah, I mean, I guess. And she's like, does that mean you want to mate with me? And she goes, what? And he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I guess you regular humans don't call it mating, huh? Do you want to fuck? Have sex? Right now? And those were the screenshots I saw, was that period of like that exact scene, and I was just like, holy shit, that she's gonna have sex with this chimpanzee. I need to watch this show right now. I hope they do it on screen in front of me. And then she's like, no, I don't want to do that. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. And she's like, no, it's fine. I just told you I like you. I don't want to jump straight to fucking. And then she like whispers in his chimp ear, and she's like, by the way, you should call it making love. It's a little more romantic. And then she leaves, and I'm like, she's gonna have sex with the chimpanzee. She's gonna fuck this monkey. Oh my god. Then she gets kidnapped by the main villain, who like the main villain is crazy. Like, he's like a psychopath, and he's like, when people are like, why are you doing this? Why do you keep harassing Charlie the humanzee? And he's like, I just want to see how people react. And it's like, what? And it's like, hey, if you constantly attack and harass the monkey, he's gonna be upset at you. He's gonna attack you back. He's literally like, a humanzee's pretty fucked up. I want to know how people react to that. It's at this point where, like, if the first 4 episodes were like vegan propaganda, the later half is people being like MAGA alt-right, like, that ain't right. We need to kill this fucking human Z. And I'm like, what the fuck is this show about? But that, the Joker type villains kidnaps Lucy, and then Charlie, wants to save his GF no matter what. So then he, like, sprints faster than vehicles to get into the woods where they are. Like, there's shots of him, like, Naruto jumping through trees, like, and then he, like, the armed guards are, like, on comms, like, we need to take out this fucking chimp no matter what, okay, boys, stay frosty. And then he, like, systematically takes them out one by one, and I'm like, fuck yes, Charlie. And then he, like, gets down to the last guy, and he, like, picks up some night vision goggles and puts them on, and he's like, this lets you see in the dark, I see. And I'm like, yes! And then he goes, fucking 1v1's the last guy. Oh my god, it's fucking peak. And then they they resolve that he saves his girlfriend, and then they go back home, and they go visit his, like, biological chimp mother, and she can, like, she's, like, really smart, and, like, that's why the doctor in the beginning wanted to fuck her and make the human Z. So the mother is dying, the chimp mother's dying, and she's like, one last message, and she gets, like, blocks or whatever, and she spells out, I'm a mother of two. And then it cuts to the Joker being like, oh, what are we gonna do, boss? And then it pans over to be like, I wonder what my brother's gonna do about this. And then it shows a second human Z that's, like, clearly way smarter than Charlie. Like, Charlie's the fucking brute force, with this other chimp is the brains. And I'm like, I need season 2 right now. And so you're like, okay, this guy won't stop glazing the weird chimp show. He clearly gave it a 10. I gave this one a 6 out of 10 because it's not good. It's like so awful and ridiculous that I love it. So, like, I gave it a 6 out of 10 because I did like it. I did enjoy watching it, but fuck is it stupid, and fuck is it not good, and why the fuck is there a show about a half chimpanzee, half human that wants to have sex with his high school friend? What the fuck are you talking about? What writer was like, I know what I'm fucking writing? Like, what a fucking freak. Like, Jesus Christ, man. You couldn't, like, I don't know. You couldn't have just done a fucking battle shonen about monkeys? I don't know. Watch the Darwin incident. You won't be disappointed. Jesus. Okay, I only have 3 things left, so let's just... If I talk about the last one, it'll be a real wet fart, but, let's finish things off, why don't we? The next thing I watched is Rock is a Lady's Modesty. This is... I was just going through, allegedly, my hard drive, and I was like, oh, I'll watch this. I just knew it was about, like, rock music. I didn't actually know the actual story. So the premise is that there's a girl, and she, like, was a normal girl that loved rock music, but then her mother marries into a, like, high society family and is like, listen here, bitch, you're gonna drop all your goddamn hobbies, right? You're not gonna play the guitar, you're not gonna learn more rock music, you're gonna take up the violin, and we're gonna be proper ladies, and you're gonna like it. And she's like, yes, mother, whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. So, but then, she finds the daughter goes to, like, high society school or whatever, and then she, like, sneaks away to a building that's not used, and she sees another lady, like, rocking out on the drums, and then, she's like, oh, that first girl had dropped a guitar pick, so main girl goes to her and is like, hey, I think you dropped this, and then they, drummer girl's like, you want to play songs with me? You wouldn't know what this was. You wouldn't know what a guitar pick was unless you fucked with rock music, which seems like a leap in logic. High society people don't know what this newfangled guitar pick is. So then they play some music together, and a rock music girl is like, "Oh my god, I missed this. This is what my life has been missing. I've been placating my mother with this high society bullshit, but goddamn it, I'm a rocker." And then drummer girl looks at her and, like, flames her hard and is like, that sucked dick, you're dog shit at guitar, you're a fucking whore. And I'm like, oh my god. And that's kind of like a main gimmick of the show, is just the girls getting really into rock music, like playing rock music, and then they end being like, you fucking suck, to either each other or other people that are around. And there's a crassness to the dialogue and the characters that was making me laugh a lot. And also, I liked the music that was playing. It's interesting because, like, a while ago I watched Bochi the Rock, which has, like, actual music with, like, singing and stuff. Not that this is actual music too, but, like, there's a singer in the Bochi the Rock songs, and they're, like, on Spotify. But then this show is only instrumental, and it's just, at first, it's the one girl on it's a girl on guitar, girl on drums, and then as the show goes on, they get a keyboard girl and then a bassist, and then they play shows and whatever. It's really cool. I'm definitely looking forward to more of this. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed watching this one. It's also when they play the music, they go from like 2D animation to like 3D models, like playing the and it looks weird. It doesn't look bad, but it definitely doesn't look good. It looks odd. But yeah, 8 out of 10. I was very pleasantly surprised by this one. Now I need to watch. On my iPad, I have a Girls Band Cry installed, which, to be honest, I kind of thought they were the same show. It wasn't until I was like, oh, I was watching it on my laptop, and I was like, oh, I should delete it off my iPad if I'm watching it on my laptop. And I grab it, open Crunchyroll, and then it's like Girls Band Cry, and I'm like, this is a whole different fucking show. So, Bushy the Rock, Rock is the Lady's Modesty, Girls Band Cry, K-On! If you will. I never watched that one. That one missed me, but there's a whole genre of just like girls playing music, apparently, that I guess I'll watch Girls Band Cry, and then I can go back to the OG of K-On! To like tier listing the girls rock shows. I'm not gonna do that. So I watched this throughout this last week. My next thing, Reborn as a Vending Machine, I Now Wander the Dungeon. Episode 1 had me. Because as a premise, it's stupid. It's clearly a play on those like Reborn as a whatever, isekai. The show starts and there's a guy on his moped and he's driving behind a truck that has a vending machine and it's like coming loose off the cables, and then they're like coming around a turn and he's like, if I don't do something, that vending machine's gonna meet its end. And I'm like, what? And then they like take the turn and the vending machine goes flying off the side of the mountain and he barrels after it and like tries to grab it, and I'm like, what are you doing? You can't save it. And then he wakes up in another world and he is a vending machine. So he died because like he's on the moped, and I'm like, okay, he's gonna get hit by a truck like all the other isekai and like whatever. No, truck is still involved, but he barrels off the side of a fucking cliff face, trying to stop a vending machine from falling. I don't know why he thought he could do that. He's reborn in another world as a vending machine, and then he's like, oh my god, I'm a vending machine. This is the single greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm a real fan of these vending machines. I guess you could say I'm a fanboy. And then he like starts rattling off how he fucking loves vending machines, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean you're a fan of what? I love gumball machines. Shut the fuck up. No, you aren't. But I was like, okay, so it's like satire. It's like a play on the like, oh, reborn as a slime, reborn as a whatever. Okay, this is gonna be a funny show. In the back of my head, I'm like crossing my fingers, like, please be funny. Please don't just like. I remember like years ago, there's one that's like a reborn in another world, but I brought my iPhone with me, and that show fucking sucked cock. I didn't finish it, but people were like, no, that one's a satire on the genre. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, no, but this one is. It won't just like become generic fantasy slop, right? Right? So then he gets picked up by some strong girl. He can like say phrases. He can't talk because he's a vending machine. He can go like, hi there, please insert coin. You could even win a reward. And for some reason, the girl that like is in the woods finds him, and then whatever, she realizes you have a soul and you're a person, and also I love you. Actually, I have to go back to this guy is schizophrenic because he's like, I'm so happy I'm a vending machine. I was talking to Andrew about this, where there's that old story called I Have No Mouth, I Must Scream, where by the end the person that was a person gets like morphed into a blob of fucking shit and is like constantly tortured by an evil supercomputer, and he's like, it ends with like, I have no mouth but I must scream because this is my fate. And like, it's the same thing, but instead of a ball of shit, he's a vending machine. And I'm like, this is not a good thing. You can't move or breathe or talk. You're a fucking vending machine. And he's like, this is the best. No. But, then after this, it just very rapidly becomes fucking generic fantasy slop where, problem happens, but thankfully the vending machine is there, and he can, like, morph into other things that are vending machines, and he's like, there's a moment where he's like, it's a good thing I'm such a vending machine fanatic so that I could transform myself into this coin-operated oxygen machine that existed back in the whatever time, or blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. Like, episode 1, I really was like, okay, is this going to be funny? And, like, it's funny to laugh at how insane this man is, but Everything else is generic fantasy slot. It's not bad. It's just like the most whatever thing ever. So I give it a 5. Like at most I could give it a 6, like laughing at this fucking freak for loving being a vending machine, but because it's not visually good, the voice acting was whatever, and then the premise fucking sucks. Reborn as a used condom. It's not the ass of my stepbrother. Like what? Shut up. So yeah, 5. I know there's 2 more seasons after this. I'm not rushing to watch those. I think season 3 is airing right now. But maybe when it's all said and done, like when the show is over, I'll be like, I need to finish Vending Machine, or I'm not a true cell Vending Machine stan. Well, I'm not one anyway, but whatever. And then I finished watching this earlier today. Technically, I watched the last 3 episodes of this today because years ago, back when I first started to make anime content, and I did a video about Mie Ruko-chan and Akira and Attack on Titan season 1, that was my thing. I was like, I'll watch one show and that'll be the video, before I morphed into this where I was like, I'll watch a bunch of shit and then garbage it out into one giant video. Kaguya-sama Love is War, which is like a rom-com where it's like there's the student council president and then the vice president, and they want to fuck each other, but they're so competitive that they don't want to so competitive and prideful they can't be like, well, admitting that would be gay, so I'm not doing that. And I was gonna do a video of it. I don't think I have the notes for it anymore, but whatever. So I remember really, really liking it, and then I liked these episodes, so I kind of leaned on the fact that I really liked it a few years ago of the other episodes that I didn't rewatch before finishing it, because I really did think it was funny back when I watched it. And the episodes I watched today, they were good. They weren't amazing, so I gave it an 8 because it's funny, it's cute. I want the couple to be together. I'll probably watch the however many more seasons they made after. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with this. I completely lost all train of thought for some reason. I was like, I gotta get the plot out, and then I got the plot out, and then I was like, brain empty, no thoughts, nothing. There's nothing going on in there. Holy shit! I think it's because I know this is the last thing I have to talk about, and I'm like, but if you just don't, the video's over, and then that's good for you. But yeah, I said, but yeah, I had a point. I don't. I wish I was still talking about the Darwin incident. Kaguya is good, It's like I said before when I was talking about Trigon, I was like, I'll talk about the rest, but it'll end on a wet fart. I can see the future because it's a good show. There's not much to say. It's just every episode is they get into a little mini contest, and holy shit, it'll end with the narrator being winner of this battle is Shinomiya, and then they do that, whatever. Although it did very clearly, it seemed to end heavily on Kaguya really, really wants to jump his bones. So I wonder if they'll end up sooner than later instead of other romance series I've watched or read, Nagatoro, which they got together and they were together for 3 chapters, and then it was it's over. Or Takagi, which was they're not together until the movie. Yeah, I don't know. Wet fart. I need to end the video because I had fucking clearly nothing else to say. Ideally, I won't miss a whole 2 months straight again. But maybe I'll get sick again. Maybe I'll get diagnosed with turbo lung cancer. Who's to say? Anything could happen. Maybe the Darwin incident stands will come fucking hunt me down for daring to talk shit about Charlie the Human Z. Whatever. I need to end the video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.